Assuming we have seen how to print text and numbers to the screen in a sentence like this. Nice, right? Well, we can still improve the way it looks. For example, make it look like a table where everything is aligned, without playing, of course, with space, 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 which obviously doesn't work in all cases. We use something called format modifiers. Using flag, field width, and precision, our goal is to correctly write advanced formatted outputs. A format modifier is a combination of a placeholder, a flag, field width, and precision. You're familiar with these placeholders, but notice I've left room in between the two characters, as this is where we will work in this tutorial specifically. Like this, -5.2. Quickly, I have a flag, I have a field width, and I have a precision. Not all of them are necessary, but the order does matter. Look at these examples. I have 5.2f or 0.2, here I only have a precision. For strings and characters, do be careful, we won't have a precision. So what's a precision? Well, you probably are more familiar with this one. It's the number of decimals after the decimal point. So when I do 0.2, I'm telling MATLAB I want 2 decimal places. Again, this is not applicable for anything other than floating points. Characters, strings, they don't have decimals. By default, if I don't put any precision, MATLAB will do 6. And that's how it looks. Now notice I'm not putting the /n in these examples. Just to show you where those prompt symbol end, that tells us exactly where our field started and ended, where our results are displayed. 0.3, I have 3 decimals. There is no limit to how many decimals you can display, small or big, but you will notice that MATLAB does round with respect to 0.5. Now keep in mind, the value in memory is unchanged, absolutely no changes in memory. Just the display looks rounded with respect to 0.5. Try it yourself. Aren't you actually curious now? How many digits does pi have? I mean, is it really infinity? Is the machine allowed to do that? Try it. Do an fprintf and play with the precision. Next is the field width in front of the precision. It's the minimum number of characters to be printed, but that will include the blanks and the period. It's specified as an integer. Now look at the 11 that I wrote here. %11f. Again, the 11 is in between the % and f. That just says that I want my number to show up on a width of 11 characters. So the total width, how wide your field is 11 character total. And MATLAB puts spaces in front, automatically, avoiding us to have to do space, 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 space. Now it does include the precision. Do be careful. It's not 11 numbers in front, 2 in the back. It's 11 total. Notice there's no difference between the top and the bottom example here. But now MATLAB said, well, you only want 2 decimals, so I will fill in the front with spaces. Now what happens if your number is way bigger than your 11, for example? Well, MATLAB will ignore the field width and keep the precision. So 4.2, for example, you have 2 decimals, 1 for the period, so that's already 3. 4 is too small. In other words, MATLAB will not reduce your precision to make it fit. It'll ignore the 4, but it'll definitely follow your precision first. If it needs room, it'll take the room. And first in the format modifier is the flag. It controls the alignment, so you can align left and right, just like in Word. We cannot align center and justify. But here are the symbols. Either you put nothing, or you put a minus or a plus. In my example, I chose a 7 field width. Usually the flag and the field width do go together. That means that all my numbers, 3.14, will fit in the 7 character slot. But sometimes it's to the right, sometimes it's to the left, and in the last example, the actual sign shows up, the plus. But you can tell that if I don't put a flag, it's aligned to the right. If I put a negative, it's aligned to the left. If I put a positive, I'm not actually controlling the alignment, but I'm saying I want this symbol, plus or minus, to show up. Now I can combine the plus and the minus. The minus aligns to the left, and the plus tells MATLAB I want to see what sign the value is. Why not? I'll show an example. It's actually useful. The last flag you can use is a 0. 0, 7. That means that all the spaces in front, instead of having spaces, I want leading zeros. And again, we'll do an example on that. The clock is the best example. You use a field width and a flag. 0, 8, you want that 0 to show up. 0, 1, you want that 1 to show up. Or what we're aiming for today again is that table idea with 2 different field widths so that everything is aligned perfectly. So let's focus on the clock. Here I have 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 12 seconds, but when I run, you see the 0 does not show up. There is indeed a quick fix. You can add zeros in front of the placeholder. Notice it's in front here. It's a mistake, but it does solve my problem. But what if the hours becomes noon? It doesn't work anymore. The 0, the leading 0 that we want, needs to be inside the placeholder. Will it fix the problem immediately? No. The 0 wasn't taken into account because I don't have a field width. So MATLAB fills in the zeros when there's spaces in front. But if there isn't a field width, then MATLAB automatically chooses the smallest amount of numbers. So I have to force that too. Now, even if the hours, the minute become 2 digits, then all of a sudden that clock looks good. In this example, I used 0 for the flag and the 2 for the field width. But I didn't use precision. Wouldn't make sense. I can change the field width, 6 characters for the hours, leading zeros. Not really applicable, but just showing you examples. Here's an example where I have a nice little sentence, the hypotenuse of a triangle, I do the math. It looks okay, but again I want to improve. I want to make it so it's easier to read faster. Your sides were so and so, and there's too many zeros in the decimals. So I can always split an fprintf into 2 when the format string starts being long and ugly and too little detailed. I decided to do 15.3. Now the nice thing about me being 0.3 in both numbers is that the period will actually align, even if the numbers grow and shrink. But I have 15 characters total for that column. See, the period is still aligned. So that's one way of doing this. Now again, there is a limit. If your number gets very big, MATLAB does ignore the 15, but sticks with your 0.3. Last example is using that plus as the flag to show the symbol, the actual sign of your value. Is it positive or negative? Trying to print an equation ax plus b looks good. I mean, I did the basic 0.1f x plus 0.1f. So the problem is when b becomes negative. Then at the bottom I have a plus and then followed by the minus. It's an easier fix than you think. Trying to make it look like a negative, that's great, but then the equation's wrong because it was positive. So put the plus sign inside the placeholder. Not before, but inside. I'm just moving that plus sign to after the percent sign. And now when my coefficient b changes, the sign actually takes over and it looks like the actual equation. I can do same thing for coefficient a. If I do want to display the plus and the minus, I put a plus sign inside the placeholder. That's the trick. Your equation could grow and the front number becomes a middle number. So it is a way, using this flag, it's a way to make it look pretty by not really changing the format string every time a number pops up. The format string does look a little weird and a little intense if you want, but it does just take practice. I'm playing with the numbers, I'm testing, and the equation is still correct at the bottom. Your turn, quiz number 1. In this example, we had no flag, a field width of 10, 2 decimal, and there was a /n for the next line. Couple important notes. Remember that if you have multiple variables, everything that we're showing you still applies. Every single placeholder, every single variable has to match in data type and order. 3 variables here, a string, a whole number, and a decimal. As long as you match the order, the data type, everything is good. In this example, the flag and the field width are automatic. I didn't even play with them, but I did do a 0.2 for the precision. Your turn, quiz 2, and then quiz 3 will come immediately after. Play with creating variables and kind of making that format string intense looking, but the output is exactly what we want. A field width of 9 and left justified this time. Once again, don't be afraid that that format string will start to be what I call ugly, but it is what it is. Just remember those 2 backslash and those 2% sign, kind of reviewing a little bit. -9 for the left alignment and the 9 of a field width, and the rest is just basic. Final quiz. So here we are using what we did before. We have that nice sentence, but we want to aim for a little bit better. There are many, 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 many ways of doing this. We would like you to follow that one directions we're going to give to practice everything. 6 fprintf. Number 2 and 6 are actually copy-paste. That makes it easier. Now here's the trick for 3, 4, and 5. Please create 3 variables for velocity, height, and distance. Kind of what we did with Addison. It makes headers easy to fix and to align. Make sure to use the same field width to adjust the position of the formatted data. So honestly, only write 1 fprintf and then kind of copy it and modify the modifiers. The code for the calculation remains identical, but instead of 2 fprintf, I have a lot more. Create those variables, and here the idea was %10s and %10, sometimes a float with 1 decimal, sometimes a float with 2 decimal. But that's the nice thing. If you think the 10 is too small, then increase it to 15, 15, 15 without having to do space, 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 space. And that's it. Vocabulary-wise, format modifiers do include flag, field width, and precision. And play with it. Not all of them are necessary at all times, but once you use them, you can correctly print something that's actually pretty cool looking once you put time into that format string.